Obesity, in my opinion, is the number one issue facing health professionals currently and in the future. There have been numerous pathologies, numerous diseases that have been associated with obesity. Just about everyone in the book, in fact. And according to the NIH, 1 in every 3 adults is obese, as defined by a BMI of greater than 30. Which, if you're BMI of greater than 30, it's pretty obvious that you're obese. As well as 1 in 6 children or adolescents ages 6 to 19. And that figure is only growing.
So I come from California, and when it really comes down to it, if you're on a coastal areas on the West Coast, there's not an issue of having a hard time getting to good like fresh food more so, rather than going just stopping by McDonald's all the time and using price of fresh fruits and vegetables and lean meats relative to that. We're I would say on the East Coast there's a similar effect. Once you get below maybe like New York, it shouldn't be that much of an issue, because that's an area where there's heavy farming going on in fruits and vegetables. When you get into the middle of the United States, it's a little bit more of a difficult. Um, it's more difficult to obtain those types of good foods relative to a cheap dollar menu meal.
One thing that contributes to obesity in America is fad dieting. So that doesn't really have any background in medicine, and there's not enough data to support that it actually helps weight loss. But there are a lot of gimmicky titles in magazines and also in media that cause people to, start participating in these fad diets, and a lot of times they don't lose weight, but they just end up spending a lot of money on it.
I think that it starts at maybe at parenting, where parents have a hard time telling their loved ones, children or family members that, pretty much that you're fat and that it's bad for your health, and it's bad later on for the whole nation. When it comes down to it, we kind of have to pick up slack on each other, especially in the direction we're moving with healthcare, where we're all going to be picking up the tab for a lot of patients who come from underserved communities, which typically you do have higher obesity rates in.
From a policy perspective, and this is very controversial, but the idea is that you could start from a young age and limit what kinds of foods and drinks are served in cafeterias at school. And the idea of this is to not only prevent obesity among children, but also to avoid having them getting used to unhealthy diets that will persist into their adulthood. So the idea is that sodas and chips and other types of junk food would be limited in school cafeterias, and healthier alternatives like vegetables, fruit, and fruit juices would be served instead.
All doctors can do is offer advice. We can't go into people's homes and force feed them. You have to just say, here are the ways to be healthy, and then hope that they do it. And some patients really are very adamant about, I like eating my junk food, and that's the way I want to live my life. And so, what role can doctors play? I think they can play a pretty big role, but on some level, it's really up to people to become educated and follow through on these healthy habits. And when you're sort of surrounded by junk food and sugar and, couch with a big screen TV all the time, that's a hard thing to convince people of. So I think on some level it has to be more of a national change as opposed to a change that physicians are pushing on people.